Welcome to the Power of One. Today, I am so excited to be speaking with Reverend Jenkins, who is the CEO and founder of the Refuge Hub. Now, for all of you who know me, you know I am always looking for resources to be able to help those affected by crime and some people that are in need. It just so happens that Reverend Jenkins and my father, Reverend Dr. John L. Payne, was speaking one day, and she was saying, listen, I got to go to work. I got to go into the city and I got to help those in need. And I said, wait a minute, Reverend, what do you do? And can you help some people that I am helping, which is victims and co-homicide survivors? And she said, I sure will. I don't think Reverend Jenkins knows what she has gotten herself into, because I'm going to deplete all of those resources. So we're going to have to find new resources, but it is such an honor and pleasure to have her on the show. Welcome to the show, Reverend Jenkins.
Thank you so much for having me.
So we're just going to dive right in. I want to hear all about you. I am sure the viewers want to hear all about you. And just to give you an example, when we were talking that day, I said to you, I had this grandmother. I'm sorry, is a mother who actually lost her son to gun violence, but her son has 2 children. And now this mother, who is a grandmother, is now going to raise her grandchildren. So she has a 1-year-old and I think a 5-month-old, and she's in need of clothing for the 1-year-old, and she's in need of Pampers for the 5-month-old. I am always looking for resources to be able to help those in need. So Reverend, talk slow. I want to hear all about your agency and all about the wonderful work that you're doing.
Yes, and I do remember that day like it was yesterday when you asked that question. But I want to first, yes, my name is Reverend Shandy Jenkins, and I have been in ministry for over 25 years now. I mean, just from a child wanting to do missions. I guess God knew my heart as a child, and I ended up growing up and going out and doing missions all around the world and doing agricultural development in countries like South Africa, South America, West Africa. So a lot of places we have helped in those communities to help families economically, some being chronically poor, where they were living in little shacks. And so just being able to help someone can change your life forever.
Yes.
My organization is the Refuge Hub. Although I've been in ministry for over 25 years, this launched right there in 2019, June of 2019. And God had given it to me in a way that says that we are to not only help those that are chronically poor, but there's this cliche that we can be one paycheck away from being homeless. And so there are many families out there in areas that they are just in need of their lights to be on, or need of some food on their table, and just trying their best to make it and head just above the water. And so God has touched my heart. The Refuge is the acronym for Restoring Each Family Unit Giving Empowerment. Refuge, restoring each family unit giving empowerment. So that being said, resources can come from anywhere. I don't do this alone. I don't do this by myself. So when you suck me dry, Melany, you're sucking everybody else dry that's coming my way, because I'm reaching out for as many resources that I can possibly get. You'd be so surprised of the people that are interested in giving. You just got to go and find where they are, or network and find out what people may know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and it never fails. There's always someone ready to help somebody. The Refuge Hub, we are a program that is serving the community. We're dedicated into providing community service, aids, and working diligently to minimize the plight and suffrage of families who require, chronic needs, who require just being served and many volunteers, many churches and partnerships, local churches are places where our organization will reach out to. I call it a piloted program. And so we partner with various organizations throughout. One of the things that I strongly believe in is that once you make a connection with other organizations and you continue that relationship, as I am partnered with you, Melany, even now, it always leads to something greater. As we connect as a world, everyone in having a resource coming together can make a greater impact than us doing it by ourselves. Would you agree?
100%.
Yes.
Yes.
So
100%.
one of the things, and I'll name a couple of programs that has been birthed from the Refuge Hub, Pamper and Inspire Her. Pamper and Inspire Her is an event that is designed to service women in transition. We get professional hairstylists. They have to be licensed, makeup artists and manicurists and massage therapists. And that's my side kick. For 15 years, 17 years now, have been doing professional massage therapy. But when we take all those professionals and we bring us together and we help these women, we would take vans and bring them into the one central location. Last year, we had it in a place called a hair salon called God's Given Gift Hair Salon, where the owner is Rhonda Crossan, and she has just been a beautiful soul to the ministry of the Refuge Hub. But we literally transition those women to feeling great about themselves. We even had some childcare providers that took their children temporarily while they got a complete makeover. So that's one of the programs. Helping Heroes is another program. United States veterans required support, when they're coming out of the service, and a lot of them are suffering from PTSD. A lot of them are, on the streets and chronically homeless because they have really gone through some trauma being in the military. We help them with computer enrichment programs. And so a lot of them are not familiar with the computer, and you say a mouse, and they're not looking for a mouse to hold a mouse on the ground, but giving them those basic computer concepts really helps them to even look for a job. You can't go into a workplace anymore and give a resume. They're typically telling you to go and sign up online and apply that way. So teaching them the basic typing skills and putting the ASDF, JKL, SIM, and getting those words formed, it helps their mind to be strengthened, just like the piano, helps the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain to be strengthened. So it just really helps them as they're moving forward towards self-sufficiency. Turkeys and foodies, Thanksgiving giveaway. That's one of my favorites. Many families will go without the privilege of having a Thanksgiving meal. And so we would come together with Men Who Care. That's another organization that I partner with in Germantown, but will allow the Refuge Hub to partner and use the facility there, where we may have collected as many as 400 turkeys, and also the canned goods, like dry goods, anything that dresses up a Thanksgiving meal. And not just families who are living in low income with no vehicles to drive up, but there are cars. Anytime somebody's in line for a car, for a meal, and they're in a car, you have to be waiting in that line for a reason. So You can't really judge that book by its cover. So we get so many people. And when I tell you we deplete the food, and it is loads of it around that time of year. We also have something called All for Youth. All for Youth is a youth community event that we hold for back to school time. And so we have a drive. We also do a coat drive for the youth, and we'll also do a reading fundamental program where we collect the books and give them away, along with giving them their backpacks. We may collect as many as 500 backpacks. I think last year we did 800 backpacks. I was really amazed at that. Learning through the arts. So we have different programs that might volunteer their time to teach the children arts. And so there's a lot that needs to be done with the children that I believe, can really learn from one another to find out what it is that children need, even children on the spectrum. That inclusion part is so important, where a lot of programs are not met up for children who are suffering mentally. And I don't know if you recognize, or anyone listening recognizes, that mental health has increased and it has skyrocketed. I don't know if it's because of COVID. I just really don't understand every detail of what caused the increase, but I realize that the programs are in a greater need than they've ever been before. And so we have partnered with other programs of social work, of programs that allow wraparound programs where they're coming and they're working with the children. But that is a really great need that has really stood out more than anything when it deals with our children. There's more right afterwards.
Okay. Well, I have a question.
Sure.
So how can people utilize your services?
Mm-hmm.
Is it first come, first serve? Can people just call the agency? And I want to give you an example, and this is a real example of a mother who is in need. Her name is Andrea Robinson, and this woman is dynamic.
Okay.
Unfortunately, her son was murdered. I want to say maybe about 2 or 3 years ago. And there was no life insurance in place. So of course, like you said, you could be one paycheck away from being homeless. You could be one paycheck away from your lights or your gas going off, being shut off. And that's real. So think about those mothers, those fathers, those grandparents who now have to pay for a funeral because there was no life insurance in place, and that sets them back.
Right.
So I have this mother now who is now living in a shelter, and it's hard for her to get back on track, to be able to get that last month's rent and security deposit to be able to move into an apartment. And she has 2 other younger children. How can the refuge help this mother?
So that's a really good question, because everyone is different. Every resource that we put together is different to each family member. For this woman, one of the things I would first say is, if you were to go on our website at the.R.E.F.U.G.E.org, there is an area that you can click on that will allow you to be able to send a message to us. So if this was a need and they sent the message saying that this is the need, how can you help us? A lot of times we'll get sponsors to help. So there's people waiting to be able to sponsor a family. And we can never promise what this sponsor can do, but we can get that sponsor. We can let the sponsor know what that need is. And if the sponsor says we're willing to help, we'll let the family know. And then we connect them with that family member. There was a woman, and I'll give you a story. There was a woman, a grandmother, who has been taking care, even up to today. She had surgery maybe about 4 years ago. And then 2 years ago, she literally was so chronically ill that she almost lost her life. She had been in the hospital forever, but it felt like, because her grandchildren, she was still raising. And then her grandson had turned 14, and he ended up helping to raise his siblings as the older grandson. But she had shared with me, from knowing my work previously, when we helped her for maybe 2 Christmases in a row when we got all the grandkids bikes, when we, the next year they didn't even have a Christmas tree to light up. And we bought them a Christmas tree along with, I believe the little boy wanted a keyboard. But this family had been sponsoring, this one family had been sponsoring this particular family, and they stayed connected with them throughout the year. And the kids are so proper. When I say proper, they're mannerable, they're respectful, and just wrote letters of thanks. And you don't get that from kids of this generation these days.
Right.
But they were blessed from the sponsors that they received. And so that is one of the things that we have done is through sponsorships. Other ways where we partner with churches, and I think I said a little of that earlier today, where we connect with the local organizations in churches, and those are other resources that we connect with. And any other networking and partnerships that we've done, we connect, and if it's something based on what the need is, if it clicks in my mind, or one of my other my assistants or any board members or whatever, they're always sending me things and letting me know that, check this out. I was here and I spoke with someone. Seems like they'll be a really good fit in helping us with resources. So there's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.
That's true. Reverend, so there's no restriction. It could be anyone living throughout the city of Philadelphia.
Absolutely. I mean, we don't judge anyone with the need. I mean, that if there's an absolute need, it's not by where you live. We have, and it's just not even in Philadelphia. We are also in Montgomery County. So there's two counties that we've been working in, and that's where our main focus has been. But if they're outside of the county, I mean, if you go out of my development and go a little further up, that's Bucks County. I'm not going to say we help only in Montgomery County, so I can't help you. So it's wherever the need is. If a person comes to me and they have a need, I'm not going to ask them, what county are you in? I'm going to find out what the need is, and I'm going to reach out and see what I can do to assist.
And give them the website again. And on this website, they can basically tell what the need is and wait for someone to contact them, correct?
Absolutely. And there's a number of ways to use that website. It doesn't just go by the need, it goes by if they want to be able to help in resources. So we have everyone reaching out to us for different reasons. So if they have a need, yes, go to www.therefugehub.org, www.therefugehub.org. And that will lead you to a link where you can click on, and you can send an email to us on whatever the need is. If you want to make a contribution, you can also send, give online. You can you can give through Venmo, you can give through Cash App, you can give through PayPal, or you can simply send in a gift to our P.O. Box, which is P.O. Box 25, and then it's Montgomeryville, Pennsylvania, 18936. So there's many ways of giving, and if there's a family and maybe you don't have the need, but you know someone, you can send in a note on their behalf and say, I know a family and this is the need of this family. If you can help them, this is, what we would, this is the information that I can give to you if you can reach out to, and we will get back with you.
Too. Yeah, yes. Because, everybody
they're not going to always speak about their needs. Some people don't know how to ask, and it doesn't mean that they're prideful. It can simply mean that they've never been in that situation before. And, we all go through something in life, and, no one's here, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not here to judge you by where you're living, how much you have, how much you don't have. If you have a need, reach out, and whatever we can do to help, we'll be there.
That is so Awesome. And being in the victim services world for many, many, many years,
Yeah.
with my resources, I'm always looking for
Yeah.
other agencies that can help me in the victim services world. So it was just amazing that I'm with dad and mom that day, and mom says, okay, we got to stop by Reverend's house because we have to pick something up. So I'm like, oh, listen, I want to go to the restaurant to eat. Daddy's going to treat me to eat. But you know what? It just speaks to, we have to begin to think outside the box, and we always have to be ready for
Yes.
opportunities to come our way, because Reverend,
Yes.
this is a passion for you.
Yes,
This is
it
a
is.
passion for me, and helping those in need. That can't be a job. You have to have the right heart, the right spirit, the right mindset to be able to help others in need. So I am so glad that I connected with you, because
So am I.
I'm connecting with that mom to say, listen, I need
Yes.
you to go onto this website. So do you have a physical office somewhere? Do you do walk-ins?
So I don't have a physical office. I'm out of my home. As I mentioned earlier, this was launched in 2019. And prior to that, I had already had another nonprofit where there was an office, but I did some transitioning and starting afresh. Previous was for the chronically homeless, but God had spoke to me not just for the chronically homeless, that I'm to branch off and do some other items that has been in my heart, even as it deals with scholarships for the education, so there's a lot of other moving parts that I am now launching into. So it's definitely a place where I won't just be here in my office, but I'm out in the fields. So you'll see me traveling now.
And I tell my advocates that
The
all the
hustler.
time. Listen, if you are a true advocate, you cannot serve those in need from sitting behind
the desk. It's boots on the ground.
That's
But
it.
we're gonna eventually have to get in office because it builds up so quickly that you can't always do it by yourself. I have a great board of directors, and you'll see them online, but when you go on the website, they're constantly on me, to what we're doing next, and helping me with the programs. Some of the other programs like Operation Code Blue, where earlier this year, out in Frankfurt. I don't know if you know much about what's happening out in Frankfurt, but over 300 blankets, wool blankets, waterproof blankets, we were passing out. And just the night before we came, a woman had froze to death in the park. The drugs I don't even know what to call the different drugs, but it has them standing up and looking like zombies. I've never seen anything like it. And it just was so emotional for me. And, just trying to stay warm so that I can continue to walk the streets and minister to the people in the streets. I even came up to one woman who was completely covered in her own urine, and you can smell the stench, but I got used to that over the years, and I knew that was not something. Now blood can cause me to sweat, and I don't sweat even after 7 miles of running. But anything with needles, those things cause me to cringe. But that's why I got into, and I always wanted to be some type of doctor, some type of physician, and I knew that just was not my calling, because I would pass out. So my next calling was to help those in need. So that's where I'm a doctor. But helping this one woman and going up to her and giving her the blanket, she told me that I saved her life because nothing was keeping her warm. And she looked up, and the first thing she says to me is that I had beautiful eyes like an angel. And I says, well, you have beautiful eyes too. And, and she just says, my eyes are going dim. And I says, no, they're not. I says, today you shall live. And she cried and fell in my arms. And when I tell you, it just reminded me why it is so important for
Yes.
us to continue to
Yes.
do this work. I don't know what her day, the remainder of her day or her days ahead would have been like if we hadn't sat and talked, if I hadn't prayed with this woman.
Yeah.
So the need is great. I even had other missionaries that were on foot with me, just sitting back and remembering the years prior, because some of them I have been walking with my ministry for over 20 years and just said, Miss Jenkins, they said it's definitely your calling, and I thank God for you. And that was their response for seeing just the impact of one woman in the freezing cold. Yeah, we
And
gave
that's
her
the
about
thing
3
that keeps
blankets
you
though.
going. Yeah, yeah. And that's what keeps you going, because there
Yes.
are days, and you know, if you're in a nonprofit, you don't make a lot of money, but there are days when you're burned out. There are days where you're like, I can't do this anymore. But when you come across individuals like that who are so
Yes.
grateful, and even
Yes.
for me, that mother, before we get off the phone, it says, Miss Nelson, I love you. That's it. That's
Yes.
what gives me the strength to keep
Yes.
going. Reverend, I want you to keep up the good work, continue to fight for, continue to serve those in need, because you are truly God sent. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so inspired, and I hope you are too. You have to remember, you could be the one to change the world. There are so many people in need. It doesn't take a lot, but it takes you to get up and to do something. Remember, the power of one starts with you. Peace and love.